Hey guys, Andrew Berg here. So this is going to be the first in a series of videos I'm doing on voicings for jazz sections. We're going to be starting off with block voicing. Okay, so if you look right here, we have the basic beginning melody of Pop Goes the Weasel. I'm going to be using this for all the videos in this series. It's a very recognizable melody, and you can see how the different voicings differ from each other. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all of these. I'm going to copy the melody down to each of these lines. Okay, so the very first thing you might see is that the bari sax part is way too high. So that's fine. We're just going to lower down an octave to begin with. Okay, so first thing we want to look at is what chords we're going to be using for this. Let's go ahead and just use 2-5-1 in the key of G major. Okay, cool. It's a good start. In block voicing, the way we want to handle this is we want to have the top voice be the melody, and then each voice below that is basically going to be going down to each chord tone below that. And I'll show you what I mean. So, the first thing to note is that each of these chords right here have 4 notes in the chord. And I actually can show you that right here. So for A minor 7, we have A, C, E, and G. D7, we have D, F sharp, A, and C, and G major 7 is G, B, D, and F sharp. Okay, so now what does that mean for the actual harmonizing and voicing of this? Since we have 4 notes we can choose from, we're going to start by taking the bari sax part and having it down an octave, which we already did. And the bari sax part is actually just going to double the lead alto part. So now we already have one part already finished, which is great off the bat. Okay, so what does that mean for the rest of these? So we're basically going to go down, we're going to go note by note, and we're going to lower it to the chord tone below the voice above that. So I'll show you what I mean. So this first one right here on A minor 7 is a G. So look at G, A minor 7, that's 7th. So we want to go down to the 5th, which is E. So that means this right here is going to be down to an E. And actually, since these first 2 notes are the same, I'm just going to do it for both notes at the same time. Okay, the next note below E is going to be C. So I'm going to lower these down to a low C. And that means these will be down to an A. Okay, so an important thing to note right here is, if you're familiar with saxophone at all, you'll know that the alto sax is in the key of E flat, tenor sax is in the key of B flat, and bari sax is also in the key of E flat. So you might be wondering why these are all in the key of G then. Well, I have this all on concert pitch, so if we're to look at how the instruments will actually read the notes, it's going to be like this. The reason I'm pointing this out is I always think this is a good place to start off with to make sure that we're in the right range for the instrument. We don't want to start arranging this and harmonizing it and everything and then realize that we made the alto part way too low or tenor part way too high, that sort of thing. Okay, so now that's taken care of. We're going back to this. So second note here is an A. So for this, the next chord tone lower than an A is going to be G. Right? So if we look at this right here, after that, it will go down to a G. But here's the thing. When you have just a whole tone between the top 2 notes of a voicing, a lot of times it gets really mucky. It just sounds really muddy. It doesn't sound very clear. So to fix that, one way we can handle this is, instead of having this be a G, we can instead have it be an F sharp. So an F sharp is the 6 or 13 of the chord. It doesn't really matter how you want to think about this. I'm going to be thinking about this as turning this into a minor 6 chord just for this one count, for these 2 notes. So by doing that, we can now have this go back down to being the E. And then this one right here will go down to being the C. Alright, so now this A minor 7 chord is already finished, which is great. Okay, on to the next one. So next we're going to have this D7 chord. We start off with a B on it, which is not a chord tone. So we have notes that aren't chord tones. We have to figure out what note it actually is. So this is going to be the 13 of the chord. Okay, so we have a B right here. When we have it as an extension, one way I like to do it, instead of just having everything be an extension now, because instead of having the 11th below it, then the 9th, and then the root, one way I like to handle it instead is by going through this and saying, okay, so this is the 13th. The 13th is very close to the 5th, which is A. So instead, I'm going to bring this down to the 3rd. So now this is going to be a 4th between these notes, but it's better than just having a whole tone between them instead. Okay, so considering that now, it gets pretty easy. So this goes down to a D then, and this one right here will be down to a C. Okay, and now this note right here, again we'd have the problem where we would have, if we put it down to a C, we're going to have that whole step interval right here. Since this is a moving line a little bit faster of a note, we could probably get away with it, but I want to stay consistent, so let's go ahead and change it up. So instead, we can bring this down to a B, which is the 13. Now, we could go down to the F sharp like we did in this situation, but since this isn't the top voice anymore, we can just go down the next chord tone instead and get a little bit more cohesive of a sound. So, we go down to an A instead, and then this one's going to be down to an F sharp. Okay, this note right here is the same as the first of the triplet, so I can just make these all match. Okay, on to the last count. So we start off with the G. G is the 4th or 11th of the chord. So for this one, we're going to apply the exact same principle. So if this is the 4th, then we're going to pretend it's the 3rd as far as this voicing is concerned. So that means the next below this, instead of being an F sharp, is going to go down to the D. That means this will go down to the C, and this one will be down to the A. Alright, last note, we're almost done. So, this being a D, this next note would be a C, but again, we don't want to have just a whole tone between these two, so instead, I'm going to say that we should bring this down to the B instead, like we've done before. Okay, so that being said, this will now go down to the A, and this one is going to go down to an F sharp. Okay, last note, G major 7. So this one, instead of going down to an F sharp again, we're going to go down to an E instead, which is the 13th of the chord. We're now going to bring this one down to the 5th, which is D, and this one will go down to the B. Okay, so as we go through this, we can see that every note is a chord tone when it's not going to have any kind of impact on the clarity of the sound. Besides that, every single note is a chord tone, and if it's not a 1, 3, 5, or 7, it's still an extension of the chord, and we're always staying in the key. That's something important to know. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to this now. Alright, that's jazz. Okay, if you like this video and want to see the rest of the videos in the series, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified the next time I post. One last thing. Crack.